Am I crazy, or is the super glide becoming more and more irrelevant? Respawn recently added the mantle boost to Apex Legends with the goal of making movement more accessible to a wider array of players. But with its predecessor being the super glide, it's hard to ignore the question of whether it's even worth learning the super glide anymore in 2026. So with that question in mind, I'll be briefly comparing the mantle boost and the super glide with both pros and cons of each movement tech, and hopefully by the end of the video, we'll be able to effectively answer that question of whether the super glide will be useful in the big 2026. Let's cover the mantle boost first. The first pro of the mantle boost is its ease of use. Let's be honest, it probably took you about 30 seconds or less to get used to the mantle boost mechanic. It quite literally can be executed with a single button press, allowing access to free movement with barely any commitment. To take it a step further, you can even customize the button used to your liking, and even the UI/HUD display as shown right here. TLDR, it's easy to do. The next pro of the mantle boost is that it actually goes further and higher than a traditional super glide. With some testing that anybody can do, you will see that the mantle boost actually goes further and higher vertically than a super glide, which allows for some new routes and clearing larger gaps of space. This means that you could theoretically close the distance between you and an enemy you're chasing, for example, and vice versa if you're being chased and need to create more distance for survival. If you ask me, this is a pretty neat piece of kit for the price of a single well-timed button press. However, just like the super glide, there are some cons that need to be considered too. One con of the mantle boost is that it leaves a visual trail behind your legend, as well as an audio cue. Now at first, this may not seem like such a big deal. Like, so what if there's a little audio in a mantle boost towards you? But hear me out. Apex Legends is a game that heavily relies on audio when it actually decides to work, and players will naturally react to the environment and what they can see. This literally can be the difference between winning a fight and your squad being wiped. It has been many times already when someone has used a mantle boost in my vicinity and I can clearly hear where they're located, and I've been able to react accordingly. Long story short, the mantle boost can make you more detectable and give your position away to enemies. The last disadvantage of the mantle boost is that it cannot be chained with other movement techs, not to be confused with character-specific movement passives like the Ash Dash or the Sparrow Jump. The mantle boost essentially locks you into an animation upon activation, forcing you in the same direction until your legend has fully landed and reset. The worst case of this disadvantage is tap strafes. Tap strafes are an integral part of movement tech in Apex Legends, and not being able to chain them into mantle boosts limits the user's creativity, making mantle boosts more linear and easy to track. It's simple really. Being able to rapidly change direction makes you harder to hit. Being harder to hit means you take less damage. Let's just say that sometimes it's easy to track someone mantle boost in mid-air, especially with a controller and aim assist. Now, let's move on to super glides, which is pretty much the reverse of everything I mentioned about mantle boosts, so I won't get too much, so just bear with me. The first pro of super glides is that they make no sound and have no visual cues. This is important because this means that you can catch enemies off guard, for example, when they're least expecting it, thus pushing the fight in your favor. Another benefit to super glides is being able to chain them with other movement techs. This makes them super versatile and ultimately will make you less predictable in a gunfight. You can even get super creative with super glides, like performing a tap strafe super glide into a Sparrow Jump or an Ash Dash, which allows you to change direction multiple times in one motion. And honestly, it just looks really cool in game and it feels just as cool to do. There are some problems that need to be acknowledged, however, with the super glide. Firstly, the super glide is not easy to learn for multiple reasons. And before you movement nerds comment about how it's not hard to glide, I'm referring to the casual player base and not the vocal minority. So delete that paragraph you already started writing, you smelly horseling me. Back to video. It's not a coincidence that 99% of players don't know how to super glide or simply cannot be bothered to go through the hoops of learning it. And that's because super glides are gatekept by near perfect inputs with tight windows and even hardware issues. I kid you not, you can make super glides way easier just by buying a Hall Effect keyboard, but who wants to do that? Like, who wants to do that? Simply put, super glides require almost frame-perfect inputs, near-perfect mantle timing, and can only be made easier to execute with weird unorthodox solutions, like flipping your keycaps to change the timing of a button press. Yes, that's a legit way to make your super glides better. It's just not that realistic of an investment for your average Apex player, let's just be honest. Now, despite everything I just mentioned, the original question comes to mind. Are super glides worth learning in 2026? And the answer, surprisingly for me, is yes, with some exceptions. If you play keyboard and mouse, I would recommend learning glides as they heavily benefit from tap strafes, which are exclusive to KBM, and hitting super glides are satisfying to do, and honestly, they're just fun. Now, if you're a controller player, I don't really think they are needed as much, as you already have a free movement button with the mantle boosts. Combine that with aim assist and it just makes for a super deadly combination. And honestly, You see the difference when you're playing game modes like ranked especially. Having a mantle boost and having aim assist and just all of that in one package is crazy. Plus, there's the fact that you can't even tap straight from controller, so that already limits your super glide option select. That being said, if you made it this far into the video, you're literally a real one. You are goated. Be sure to like the video and comment whether you agree or disagree with what I said. Share this video with your friends, and that being said, stay locked.